Metadata. Metadata is information that's stored inside the file of your photograph. When your camera takes the picture, it puts this information deep inside the file, where other software and the camera itself can read that information. It's important for you to send your photographs to us in their original format, meaning that they haven't been taken and copied and pasted into a word processing document. Some students will decide they want to send notes and other things to us, and so they'll put their photographs into some kind of a program and then copy and paste them into a word processor. And when they do that, the information is lost. Sometimes students will have a number of photographs and they think, well, I'll put it into a special program like Photoshop and cut and paste a whole bunch of pictures into one place. And that's great and it's quite pretty, but the metadata is lost. So why do we need the metadata? That data, when we take the photograph, put it onto our computer and open it up, gives us information like we can see for this photograph. Down here in the bottom is a summary of the key information and why it's important for us. It tells me that this was taken on a Canon EOS 40D camera. So it tells me what camera was used for it. That helps us know whether you're in a camera with a lot of controls or whether you're in a point and shoot camera that has fewer controls. It tells us the date that the photograph was taken, and that's important because all the photographs that you turn in this class must be taken specifically for this class and not something that you gathered from a collection of photographs that you've been gathering since you were a kid. It tells us the file size. That information isn't necessarily important for us. This information along the top is extremely important. Number one, it tells me the ISO. ISO is the film sensitivity, and 1600 is a very high number. On some cameras, but not the Canon 40D, an ISO of 1600 can produce a lot of noise in the photograph. Some cameras have a difficult time with exposure accuracy at that high of an ISO. Next, it tells me that the aperture was f20. F20 is an extremely high aperture number. The higher the number, the smaller the opening in the camera, and the better the depth of field that we get, or depth of focus is another name for that. So if a photograph is lacking in sharpness, we would have to look for other reasons. Next, it tells me that the shutter speed on this photograph was 1/1000th of a second. That's fast enough to stop most moving objects. Particularly, it's good enough to stop the motion of our hands while we're trying to hold the camera. And part of the reason that both the aperture and the shutter speed are very high is because of this high ISO number. Then it tells me over here 0.33 EV. Now EV is equivalent value. It's the exposure value of a photograph. And most of the time this is set at 0 or nothing at all. A 0.33 tells me that this photograph was 1/3 of an exposure or stop, we call it f-stop or shutter speed stop, 1/3 overexposed, and that was done intentionally to compensate for the brightness of the sky. And then it tells me the focal length of the lens, 42 millimeters, and that helps us understand the composition of the picture and the field of view, and so on. So it's important then that when you submit your photographs, you put them in the original format that they came out of the camera and to not cut and paste them into something else.